Hey guys, how's it going? This is the first episode of our new D&D streams. The name of the campaign will be Wrought Iron. And, well, you know me, I'm Tehblab. I'm playing a rogue named Gil Clearwind. He's a half-orc rogue. And we're joined by two spooky cool kids and Whisperwind ASMR as our players. And the game will be run by Tristero, our DM.
How's everyone doing?
But yeah, hey Gabby, you want to talk about our characters or your character? Sorry, I'm like completely botching this.
My character's name is Valarie Tideweather, and she's a sea elf. She used to live on the coast with her family, and her mom and dad, they got old. They passed away, and her sister went to live in the city. Now, by chance or fate or whatever, she also lives in the city, working with Aaron's character, doing some PI work.
Yeah, Gil and Valarie are kind of not accomplices, associates in the kind of private investigation business. And you want to tell us about your character? I'm just going to call you Sage instead of Whisperwind. Awesome.
No, that's good. Sage is good. Yeah, my character, her name is Ellywick Timbers. She's a gnome, and she is actually from a different island. She's from the island of Sarnia, which is a place of like really advanced learning and like scholars and like all that kind of stuff. And she works at a guild there, but her father is a trader, and he was supposed to go to the Reforged Isles for a trading expedition, and he never returned. So now Ellywick has come to the Reforged Isles and has hired Gil and Valarie to help find him.
Awesome, yeah. So we're going to start by doing kind of like a missing persons case.
Sounds fun.
How about you, Gil?
But yeah, Gil grew up in the church on this island, which is like one of the big governing bodies, and he was really gung ho about that growing up. But one time he thought maybe he'd do a little vigilante work, but he got caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, tracking an assassin down. And what happened was the assassin escaped, and it was Gil and this like nobleman, and the nobleman pinned it on Gil, and then Gil got basically excommunicated from the church. He had to spend a few nights in jail. And so now he's just trying to like scrape together a living by doing like private investigator work. Usually, tracking down a suspected like cheating lover or that kind of thing, maybe finding like a missing pet. But the idea of a missing persons case seemed really interesting, and it seemed really lucrative, so we took it on.
Yep.
So to set the scene here of what your characters are doing this exact moment is night has fallen in Stormbreaker Port. There's a light rain common to the tropical climate of the island falling. Sailors that would be going about their day, unloading cargo, hard at work, have all retired to a bunch of the drinking holes, and there's the sound of music and dancing and that kind of thing as they kind of relax after their long day of labor. You had just left, and the three of you are together. Ellywick, you had told them about your missing father, and through your connections, Gil, you were able to find where Lysander was staying on the Reforged Isles. You don't know anything more about this other than that's just where he hung his hat for the time that he was there. And Ellywick, would it be weird of your father to have like gotten a room or an apartment, or would he usually stay on the ship? Is this characteristic of him or not?
I think it depends on how long the stay was going to be. If it was like just 1 or 2 nights, he would probably stay on the ship. But if it was going to be like a week or so, then he would maybe try to get a room just so it's a little more comfortable, and then he doesn't, have to rough it all the time.
Yeah, sounds good. And these details, you simply don't know. All you know is this was the last place that he was seen by the folks that you talked to at the bar, the Copper Pot, that may have seen him passing through town. And so you get to the building, and you know that a man named Gale is kind of the landlord that, takes care of getting payments and arrangements and that kind of thing. His door is right there. There's the address, which is, a certain number 16 Mermaid Way, up on the hill overlooking Stormbreaker Port. A short walk away from the warehouses and the offices that you find.
All right. So Gil will turn to Ellywick and say, just so one more time so we're clear. Halfling, what else did he look like? Like gray hair, beard? That's what you said before?
Yes. He gray hair and a big long beard that he normally wore. There were usually a couple little braids and some beads and things like that. And normal looking clothes, I guess, nothing too fancy. I mean, he was a trader. And he was supposed to be with a dwarf, but I don't know if he still is or not.
All right. Dwarf have a name?
Yes, Gilder. Yeah, he's been in our, family friend for a long time. He's a little bit gruff, but always honest, at least. Always said what he meant.
All right. So Gil will knock on the door, just, 3 kind of short knocks.
You hear a grumbling coming from inside. Who is it?
It's Gil. We're looking for a couple people. We're wondering if you saw him.
You hear the sound of like a creaking armchair as this man lifts himself under great strain to his feet. And there's the sound of footsteps approaching the front door. Almost sound like they're the dragging on the floor. And the door is open just a crack, and you see one big peering eye coming just at eye level. And you see Gale. He peers out of the gap in the door. Everyone can see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure. And he says, "And what do you want? Don't you know how late it is? Some people have to work in the morning."
Yeah, I know. Look, I wouldn't be knocking on your door if this wasn't important. See, this little gnome, she lost her folks here, and apparently they were last seen here, or had a room here. We're just looking for some info is all.
You see this big peering eye lower down, like he's not bending down, he's actually crouching. God. And he says, "I can see the resemblance. Well, his room has been paid for another month, and I haven't seen him, so I guess there's no harm, but how do I know you are who you say you are? I know you, Gil.
Well,
you're not sneaking in to slit someone else's throat."
Hey.
Oh, goodness.
Don't look. This is a purely business trip, don't harass my client and we're good, okay?
Harass your client? If they knew the kind of reputation you had around these parts, they would have asked for someone else's help.
Gil just rolls his eyes and says, Yeah. All right, show me his room.
The door shuts. Slam. And you hear the sounds of clicking, a chain being removed from the door, a couple more clicks down below as he kind of unlocks the door completely and opens it. And he's holding a ring of keys, and it really is a giant ring of keys. And he says, "Follow me then, 2nd floor."
All right.
As he shambles around, he says, "Very shy fellow your father is. I hardly saw him at all. In fact, I think he would leave the room for days at a time, coming and going all hours of the night."
Well, he was a merchant. His job was to trade with people, and so he really had to accommodate other people's schedules and things. He's a busy man.
Oh, very good. too busy to check on his landlord and see how I'm doing with my health. It's so difficult to move around these days. And he takes the ring of keys and he tries them one by one. And it's taking forever to do.
After a couple minutes, Gil just kind of leans over and says, like, pay him no mind. He's just a grumpy old man. To Ellywick. Kind of like, kind of whispers it. And we know that Gale is maybe a little hard of hearing, so Gil doesn't even, like, really take that much effort in, like, being too quiet about that.
If he did hear you, you have no way of knowing. But, go ahead.
And then Gil turns over to Valarie and says, did you happen to see anything? Like, and did you happen to see maybe a gnome around past couple weeks?
I haven't seen anybody around, but to be honest with you, I don't pay much attention to the people around here. None of them like me very much.
Fair enough.
He finally gets to the right key. It turns with a click, and the door swings open. And, he beckons you to go, but he looks at Gil and he says, now don't stay too long. You're not going to be a squatter in this apartment as well as a would-be assassin, will you?
Hey. Calm down. I'm just, this is strictly business, as I said.
Yeah, 15 minutes. Is
All
that
right.
enough to do your business?
15 minutes. But you said the room was paid for, though, right?
Not by you.
If it was by my father, then shouldn't I be able to?
Well, I think... Do you want to try a roll?
Sure. I would love to roll.
I think this would be persuasion. Makes the most sense.
Persuasion.
And I'm going to try not to call the skills by like other games' names. So I hope
Right.
that one's correct.
Okay.
He says, but I have no proof you are who you say you are, and judging by your associates, you're no more trustworthy than them.
Well, maybe I could buy a little bit more time. And she takes out a little pouch and starts kind of jingling some of the coins in there and like looking at him.
His eyes go wide as he sees this. He gets to a point though where like once you've counted out, let's say like 5 coins, he gets the look on his face of a hungry man who's just been offered like a sandwich. He says, 5 minutes of gold. I think that's more than reasonable.
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah. All right. Here you go.
We'll just consider it a short time rental. And, he waves his hand over your hands. And it's almost like the gold, like, disappears. And you don't see him put it in a pocket or anything like that. It's just, he waves it over your hand, and it ends up somewhere. You have no idea where.
Oh,
But,
okay.
He turns and, starts heading down the stairs. But on the way down, he, like, looks over his shoulder again. Just, like, to check if you're still there, and continues on down.
Gil just makes a little remark as he walks away. He's like, yeah, no shame double booking. Pfft, what a guy.
I guess not. Yeah.
What a fine establishment. Anyway.
So I'm going to drag you guys over here, which was like the first story of this apartment that Lysander has ostensibly rented. You guys can see that all fine?
Yep.
Yeah.
Very good. So, it looks very well organized. There's, your father to be very fastidious with his bookkeeping. And so you see ledgers of various kinds. This stuff that you'd, associate with any kind of like commerce or business. There's nothing out of the ordinary here. You see that there's a staircase heading down into a like cellar and a second floor to the upstairs, and you don't see any like bed or anywhere to sleep down here. So you would only, it stands to reason it would be somewhere else in the realm. It doesn't look like it's been perturbed in any way. No signs of a struggle. Is there anything that you guys want to look at specifically? Or do you want to roll some investigation and see what you come up with?
Oh, Gil is going to just prompt Ellywick and say, any of this look like his stuff?
Well, sure, yeah. Most of this I can recognize, and it's very well organized, which is how Father always kept everything. So it doesn't look like there's been any sort of struggle, but I mean, you never know. We might still be able to find something if we look.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you're
It
good.
might be, useful to look at maybe some of his ledgers. Did he keep very detailed records? Do you know?
Oh, very detailed, always. Yes, down to the tiniest gram of anything. Always.
Interesting. Would he keep a list of clients that maybe he recently sold to or bought from?
Most likely, yes. Oh, yeah, for sure. There would be detailed records on everybody.
Nice. Maybe we should start by looking for those so we can get some kind of lead.
Not
That's
a problem.
a good idea.
Nothing's hidden. Nothing's underneath anything. Nothing's behind any kind of like hidden spot. Ledgers are right there for anyone to read. So consequently, you can figure this out without having to roll anything. You look through the ledgers, and the last couple transactions were to somebody by the name of Livia.
Livia.
And it was small transfers of money over the course of like a couple weeks' time.
Does the name Livia ring any bells?
I can't say that it does.
I will say for Valarie, this does ring a bell. You formerly had lived away from the city on the coast in the woods.
Yeah.
And Valarie was someone who had a reputation of being kind of a hermit, out in the woods by herself, and knew the mountains and the surrounding countryside better than anyone else you knew. But you knew that it was really difficult to have her as a guide. She wasn't someone who would just take money and be a tour guide. She took it kind of seriously that she had adopted that life and kind of resented the money and its attachments that would come with like being a merchant or being from the city. So
Okay.
This stands out to you as pretty remarkable that she even accepted coin.
Interesting. Well, I actually have heard the name before. She's pretty skilled in, knowing she knows everything about the island. I've met with her a lot, but she's never been into wealth or money or even really material possessions. So I don't know why she would be getting money from your father.
Do you think he made some extra trips out to the country?
Well, I can't imagine what for, unless there was someone out there who had some riches or some gems, especially things that we can't get on Sarnia as much. I've never heard of him doing it here, but it doesn't mean it's not possible.
She would know where to get some maybe more rare, like flowers, gemstones, rocks, things that you can find across the island, but I don't know that she would be interested in selling any of those things.
Maybe she wouldn't, but, well, you said your father's a merchant. Do you think, is there a market for that kind of stuff back in Sarnia?
Oh, absolutely. And my father is very persuasive.
Interesting.
Well, sounds like we should pay Livia a visit, but is there anything else in here that kind of strikes out as, like, unordinary?
Just talking about some more of like the mundane things. You notice that all the clothes are still there. Like it hasn't been unpacked. That it looks like whoever was in this room, in this case Lysander, would be able to walk in and carry on as before. Like nothing's out of place.
All right.
There's a window on the eastern side of the room, and besides that, just all the trappings of the living area.
All right.
At least, to the untrained eye.
Sure. Is there anything that would signify two people in this room? Because you said there was also a dwarf involved in this trip, right?
Yes. In this case, because it would take somebody of particular skill to do this, I think it'd be appropriate to roll some investigation. Do you agree?
Yeah, I'll roll some investigation. I
Alright.
have Hunter's Intuition. Let me just post that.
Ooh.
Oh, that actually doesn't apply here. That's for like survival checks and perception. Oops, I accidentally double posted that. There we go. 14 investigation.
So for a 14, according to my janky question rule sheet, you can ask one question on that list. In this case, it would be, I can just give you the answer to your question. I think that's reasonable.
All right. Let's see. What's the most useful thing here?
The most useful thing. Let's see. The most useful for what purpose? Or do you want to leave it up to me?
I'm not entirely sure what I'm looking for. But yeah, anything here that seems quite valuable. Maybe that they wanted to return to sell, or maybe to do like alchemy with some of these like herbs they were possibly getting. Any tools that looked like they were going to be used but hadn't been really fiddled with yet.
So tools, things like that, you do recognize, and it's just a single object, that it's a single python that would be used for mountain climbing or rock climbing.
All right.
And it's kind of like stuffed in a small cup, like made of ceramic, that has a bunch of pens and quills sticking out. But you recognize this one thing as a bit of mountaineering gear.
All right. Your father much of a mountain climber?
Not that I know of.
Do you know that dwarf very much? Maybe he would need this?
I'm not sure. I think for the most part he was more into mining and smithing and things like that, but maybe he had hobbies I don't know of. Not sure.
I will also say, I'll answer your question. You look through some of the clothing that's stuffed in a dresser, and most of it's gnome-sized, but you find some stuff that's dwarf-sized. Just slightly larger, slightly bigger arms that would indicate his companion had been in this room or had some belongings here.
Well, it does seem like they were both staying here. But we should probably take this. If we're going to look for them, maybe we'll need it to get to... I don't know. Maybe we'll have to do some mountain climbing of our own.
And not to suggest that you have to, or that, I want you to, but there are, multiple floors to this apartment. There's a floor above, and there's a floor below.
Valarie,
I'll
you
reveal
take...
a little bit so I can just show you where it's at.
Okay. I would just say, hey, Valarie, want to split up? I'll take the upper floor, you take the lower.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
What should I do? I'll go with Valarie.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I can always
So
use a hand.
who's
I'm not
going
as,
up?
I'll go up, but let's do the lower floor first.
Okay, and you guys are going to stick together?
Yeah, Valarie and Ellywick are.
Okay, sure. So the first thing you notice, and it's very dark in the bottom of the house. There's just a little bit of light coming in from the torches that when you walk in the room, lit a couple candles. It's just what folks do, and it's difficult to see much, if anything, down here. But within the dim light, you do see lots of scrolls that have, in the process of being unwound on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And sitting on a table in the center of the room, it looks like a mason jar filled with something. And it's been, very deliberately placed there in the middle of the table with, an open logbook right beside it.
Interesting. I'm going to walk up to that book and kind of inspect the jar and maybe kind of look over what's in the book a little bit.
Okay. Sure. It appears to be like observations. I tried this. I tried adding a bit of fire. I saw that like the liquid appeared to like get a little bit thinner, and obviously what was going on in this room was some kind of rudimentary like science, right?
Mhm.
But all of it in empirical, like nothing that would like indicate like anything more than that.
Hmm.
It looks like your father was like testing stuff on this. Do you have any clue what it might be?
Hmm. I'm not sure. I mean, we were always finding, new and interesting things. We love to find new things, so it wouldn't surprise me that he would be, trying to test it. What does surprise me though is this awful mess with all of these scrolls. And I'm gonna start cleaning up all of the scrolls and kind of rolling them up, and also like looking at what's on them a little
Okay.
bit as I'm doing that.
Sure. I think if you're just glossing it over, not a problem. If you're doing like a quick glance, I think Arcana might be appropriate. Although you have the idea that if you were to sit and kind of read things over your own leisure, you might be able to decipher its meaning. But for like a quick glance, I think Arcana would be your thing.
Okay, I will roll Arcana. Oh.
So you look it over. It's written in a language that you don't understand from just looking at it.
Hmm.
The symbols look peculiar. And did you choose Avestan as a language?
No.
Then it would be like looking at a language like Tamil for an English speaker.
Yeah.
But I'd say Valarie. Do you want to roll like an investigation roll to see if there's
Sure.
anything more you might pick up?
Absolutely.
With a 9, complications happen, or something dark is revealed about the situation or one of the players. And
Oh,
I
no.
think things are going to get more complicated. And I'm going to say that Gil, you've made it to the top floor. You've noticed that, and I'm going to drag you to kind of show where you're standing right now. You've gotten to the top of the stairs.
Sure, yeah.
You hear a conversation outside on the street between 3 men. There's one person talking in an agitated voice, and you notice that it's Gale, that he's like talking very gruffly. I'm assuming you'd like peek out of the window and kind of look down.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to just, kind of put an ear to the window, kind of glance to see if I know who if I recognize the people he's talking to.
Sure. You don't recognize them specifically, but you know that they're wearing the armor of the Firebrands, which are kind of like the elite temple guard of the temple.
All right.
And they're gruffly talking about, we're on the way to the warehouses. We got to check on the cargo. And Gale says, "Oh, cargo this, cargo that. You don't have time to help an old man. Do you think I can chase away 3 ne'er-do-wells out of one of my dwellings?" And he's busy arguing, trying to get them involved, seemingly unsuccessfully at this point.
All right. Gil is going to use his racial ability with his dragon mark to cast Hunter's Mark on one of the firebrands, not to attack them, but because it'll give me advantage to kind of follow them later for up to an hour.
Okay, so what do you guys think? Do you think this is something that can be made on the sly? Do you think it should be a roll to see if he notices? I'm gonna open it up to the table.
Let's see. Let me look up Hunter's Mark to see if it has any extra components.
Sure. And then while you're looking that up, we'll go back to the basement and kind of cover what's going on there. Sound good?
Yeah.
So that's the complication that came out of the investigation. But if you wanted to learn any more details about like the jar of stuff or anything else, just let me know how it is that you're examining it. And if it makes sense, I'll just give you the answer. If it takes skill, we'll roll something else.
I do want to open it up and smell it.
Okay. So you pick it up and it, stereotypically, actually, I'm going to say it just has like a really big cork stopper, like stuck in the top. And like you pop it open and immediately the smell of like decay and sulfur and like brimstone like fills the room.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
very slowly, like, do you still hold on to it at like arm's length, or do you drop it, or what do you do with it? It reeks. It's one of the smelliest things you've ever smelled.
I'm gonna hold it out in front of me as far as I can and like kind of look away a little bit. Like,
Okay.
oh my god, that's awful.
And I'm going to say that in the darkness of the room, wriggling up from the top of the jar are like 4 legs that kind of look like spiders' legs that are like overflowing off the top of the jar and are starting to ooze down the side of the cup, down to your hand, your bare arm where you're holding this thing.
Gross.
No, would I feel this?
You haven't felt it yet,
Okay.
but if you don't do something, you're gonna.
Okay, well, luckily, I'm looking over just in time to see this creepy stuff happening. And I'm gonna slam the cork back on the bottle. I don't care if the legs are in the way or nothing.
I'm gonna say you try to slam the thing back, and you hear it hiss. And the stopper's not going back on.
Oh,
and
no.
the legs are twitching now. The vial is like it's shaking in your hand.
Valor's gonna look over at Ellywick, very concerned. She doesn't know what to do, and I don't know. What should I do? What should I do?
I don't know. What is that? What is that thing?
Very quickly, she's going to turn to set it back down on the table, rather than dropping it and maybe losing what's happening.
Okay, sure. You set it down at the table. These legs continue to move, and I'm going to tell you how they move after we get to what's going on 2 floors up with Gil there.
So I looked up Hunter's Mark, actually. It says it only has verbal components. So I'm kind of picturing I could just kind of whisper like a word of magic and kind of get a little bit of supernatural insight into the movements of this firebrand.
Yeah, and it's a gray area. I'm totally fine with that.
Awesome.
So, cast Hunter's Mark. Describe what that looks like and how you sense it. Like, in your mind's eye, what is it like?
All right, so Gil was born with a dragon mark on his right forearm. So what he does, he pulls his sleeve up to reveal it, puts his other hand down to it, and just says like a word of magic, and it glows a little bit. And that's pretty much how it happens. It glows very faintly, and he just is able to kind of picture, kind of like spider sense, what this firebrand is doing as long as he's concentrating on it.
Sure. And at this point, I'm going to do something I like to call a luck roll, right?
Sure, yeah.
Where just basically roll a D100. If it's over 50, good things happen. If it's below 50, bad things happen. And that's just things that are outside of your control.
Sure, yeah.
And I like leaving things to the dice. I don't know what to say. So go ahead, roll
I
D100.
got exactly 50. Perfect.
So
what happens
course.
now?
Of
course.
What the fuck? How about this? One of the guards says, I don't have time. I'm going to be late. Tell you what I'll do, old man. once I get there, I'll send the guys off duty. I'm gonna send them over here, and they can come check it out. I gotta get there. Otherwise, Chimere is. You don't want to know what Chimere is gonna do.
All right. Can I roll a? Well, I can just hear this.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, upon hearing this, I'm going to kind of leave the room and go down to the other two members and just let them know that we've kind of got some heat on us. What do I see when I walk into the basement?
Okay, so you get. Let's say you get down to the basement at the same time that this thing's slammed down on the table. You see these fingers like pop the cork back, and it kind of rolls on the floor a little bit. The fingers reach down and they like flip the jar up, so it looks like a hermit crab almost, with like the little like legs underneath, and it's gonna like skitter off the table, and it's gonna disappear in like underneath a. Well, this is if you don't try to stop it. I'm telling you what's gonna happen if you guys don't intervene. It's gonna go, and it's going to like disappear behind an armoire.
All right. Yeah. Gil just like kind of turns the corner to see this, so he's not really in a great position to react.
Valarie has stepped back. She's freaked out. Doesn't know what the heck this thing is. It's not natural. She doesn't want to touch it.
Okay, Ellywick also doesn't want to touch it, but is also just very curious about what this is and what her father was maybe doing. So she's gonna like try to at least sort of follow it and stay a little ways away, but definitely still wants to observe it and see what this thing is.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you what happens, and then we're gonna take a break for 5 minutes.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay.
So you hear the sound of like scrapings on wood. Like a couple things are like tossed out, like some silverware, some spoons, and things like that. It's just like tearing this armoire apart. And then there's going to be like a very quiet pause, and I imagine Ellywick kind of like creeping towards the armoire,
Mm-hmm.
and then suddenly the whole thing is going to like jolt up. Like the
Oh,
whole thing
man.
Oh no!
And one of the doors is going to open slowly, and up on like the top and bottom row, you see a mouth, and there's like teeth sticking out the front, teeth on the bottom,
man.
and like a big yawning black, like inky black mouth with like this long tongue that's like lolling out.
Oh God, you awakened a mimic, didn't you?
Oh no!
And we're gonna take a quick 5-minute break.
Yeah. Gil just like says under his breath, "Gil's not gonna be happy with this."
And then during the break, we're gonna roll some initiative.
All right. Awesome.
Oh boy.
I'll see you all in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
All right, and we are back.
So, this thing reaches out, and I'm going to give Ellywick a chance to react. It is just on its way down to swallow Ellywick whole.
Oh man.
Oh man.
What are you going to do?
Okay, I'm going to dash out of the way, like backwards, back into the room.
Okay, I'd say you are within 5 feet. Are you fine with a opportunity attack?
Ooh, I guess so. I don't really have anything else that I can do, like just to get out of there. So, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so this thing is going to... $15.
What's that against?
Your AC.
My AC. Yeah, 13.
Okay.
That's it.
That's gonna hit for 4 damage.
Oofa.
And I'd say like, as you like get out of the way, the giant tongue is just gonna like smack you backwards.
Oh boy.
And you end up like in the same direction that like you wanted to go, because it's just hit you with so much force. But feel free to move and make some attackies if that's what you want to do.
Okay, yes, I'm going to cast Firebolt.
A 9, regrettably, will not hit.
Oh, dang it. Okay.
by the way, if you want to have advantage toggle on, hit the gear on your character sheet and just you should see roll queries advantage toggle. For some reason, always roll advantage is the standard, but I like advantage toggle.
Okay.
And did you move at all during your turn? Or you back up towards skill?
Yeah, I'm gonna back up too.
Okay. Do you have the ability to move your token?
Oh, yes, I think so.
Okay, perfect.
Scoot myself back a little bit. Boop. Okay.
Alrighty, and that'll take it to Valarie next.
Okay. Valarie is gonna kind of like look in shock for a moment before like very quickly like reaching her hand out in front of her and shouting freeze as she casts frostbite, which
Is that a DC skill?
well,
Con.
it needs a Constitution save. DC 12.
Alrighty. And it's gonna fail.
Oh, okay, so
Ooh.
sorry.
What does frostbite
It's
do?
going to take a d6 of cold damage. I think it already rolled for me. And
5 cold? Yeah.
I don't know how. There we go. There's the rules.
Oh, sweet.
Yay.
Oh, it has disadvantage on this next weapon attack.
Yes.
Okay.
Nice.
Alrighty, and so the way this looks is, you know, on the tips of its teeth and its tongue, it has like this inky black, tarry stuff with the same consistency as Vaseline all over it. And you shoot the frostbite right in the thing's mouth, and you see this stuff kind of like solidify and like glump up. And it's trying to gnash its teeth, but it's like having trouble opening its mouth.
Oof.
Gil,
Oof.
what do you want to do?
All right, Gil is going to say, Ellywick, you have fire, right? Here, try and hit it with fire in a sec. And I'm going to chuck one of my flasks of oil at the thing. And then I'm going to try and move here and hide behind a box.
Okay. Throwing the flask of oil, I don't think I'm going to make you roll an attack roll for that. It's, even if you don't hit the thing exactly, if it's close enough, it's going to do stuff, right?
Sure, yeah. It like splashes all over in like a whole like 10-foot thing, I think.
Yeah. So totally cool with that. And it's going to go back to this armor with teeth, pretty much. And it's
Sure, yeah.
just going to like start barreling towards Valarie.
And let me just roll a
85.
stealth, by the way, as well.
Oh, yeah. Go for it.
21. All right, yeah.
That'll do it. It is just going to start barreling, and it's almost like, I don't know, moving in like the enchanted furniture and like Beauty and the Beast. Or just like, like hobbling towards you. And it's just going to like lean forward a little bit and just like try to land right on top of you with its teeth. And it's going to roll a 5.
That doesn't hit.
No problem. So, I mean, it's like trying to get its mouth open and like unstick this like frost that's all in it. And it just like can't get it. And it just like falls flat on its face like that. It doesn't like get the prone modifier or anything, but like that's action-wise what it looks like. Sound good?
Yeah.
And in the meantime, you get that like smell of kerosene as it's like wet and glossy with this the lamp oil that Gil threw at it. Ellywick.
Okay, let's try Firebolt again now that we have oil. 10. Does that hit?
A 10, let me just double check. 10 does not hit.
Oh, dang it. Okay.
Can
Well,
I give you a devil's bargain?
sure.
I'm gonna say, and if you guys hate this idea, I'm a very like loose DM, but you can set the armor on fire and automatically hit this attack if you accept an unfortunate consequence as a result. And that
Okay.
consequence will be all of the scrolls that were rolled out. It's all gonna burn.
Oh, they got covered in oil, didn't they?
Oh no. I can't read the language anyway. I mean, I guess we could find someone who does read the language or like take time to study it. At this point, I think survival needs to win out. I'll set it on fire. I'll do it.
There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and roll some damage automatically. And if you guys think this sucks and you want to play it by the rules, we can do that too.
I mean, I think this is sweet. It's kind of like inspiration in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll say that was an inspiration token.
Okay.
And at the start of each session, Ellywick and Valarie, you can mark an inspiration token.
Sweet.
Because you guys are heroes. I mean, come on. All right, so that happens. The armor is going to light on fire. You're going to hear that same like terrible like hissing sound coming from the inside and like the awful smell of like burning rubber. Like I don't know if you've ever smelled like a burning tire, but it's just awful stuff.
I believe the oil flask makes fire effects deal an extra 5 damage for like a few rounds or something like that.
All right, 7 damage then.
Nice.
So I'm gonna add another 5 here on my thing.
Oh, by the way, if you click the word firebolt on after the roll, it'll actually make it a nice little thing and say like the damage type as well. Just so you don't have to type a whole roll prompt.
Oh, okay. So you just click it twice then? Like again if it hits. Okay.
Yeah. Where it says firebolt +4, that's what you would click on.
And so this thing has been dripping with kerosene, and the scrolls, almost like a fuse, start like burning down. And there's like a stash of some of these papers that's underneath some crates that are in like the northwest part of the room. And those are going to start to set on fire. Now it's not full like structure fire, call the salamanders in and try to put this thing out. But it might get there unless somebody does something now.
Okay. Valarie, very quickly, hold on. I want to read. I'm just going to post this so I can read it easier.
30-foot cube of water extinguishing exposed flames in the area.
Yep. Okay. So I'm going to cast create or destroy water, specifically create water, and I'm gonna try to put out this fire.
30-foot box. Let's call it like that. That size there. Actually, that's 15 feet squared.
Oh goodness, we're gonna get drenched.
Destroy. Alternatively, destroy fog. 10 gallon. I mean, that's open into interpretation. I'm not here to make it complicated. I'm on your guys' side. So I'm going to say you can put the fire out and no problem at all. But it's going to cost you a turn.
Okay, that's fine.
Gil, what do you want to do?
All right. At this point, Gil is going to look for a sneak attack. He's going to pull out his rapier and just try and like slice off this thing's like tongue or something like that.
All right.
So since I'm hidden, would that give me advantage on the attack?
Yeah, I'll give it to you. You know, you spent a turn sneaking. Totally fine with that.
Awesome. Oh, a 10.
Inspiration.
Okay, yeah, I'll roll one more time.
Burn it early.
9! Oh god.
Oh no.
Gil totally slips on the oil that splashed everywhere. And maybe the oil and water combination is way more slippery than he thought it was, and he just fumbles horribly.
It's like on the freeway that first time it rains. It's exactly like that.
Yeah. F.
Okay.
That's in the chat.
This thing, it's gonna like take the tip of its tongue. It's like face first on the ground, on fire. But Valarie, you're gonna feel the tongue like starting to like wrap around your boot like that, and try to like grab your foot basically. And I rolled a 6.
Doesn't hit.
So
Everything's fumbling.
You feel it just in time, and then like, actually, you describe how you avoid it.
I would feel this and immediately like move, like pick my foot up off the ground and like walk back. Not necessarily walk back, but like step back from it, like kind of shake it off. Maybe kick it a little. not enough to just get it off me.
Yeah, not a problem. That'll bring it back to Ellywick.
Okay. Is there anything on the ground right around me that's like smaller, like pebbles or like a book or something like that?
Oh yeah, it's a basement. There's lots of like little bits of loose cobblestone and stuff like that. No problem.
Okay, I'm gonna pick up one of those pieces of cobblestone and I'm gonna cast catapult.
Ooh.
Here, this one, it wasn't like an automatic one. Let me see if I can just. Okay, so they need to make a dex save.
I think this thing has 1 dex. If it meets, it beats.
Okay.
Oh no.
Now to pose a question to you, would the oil and water give it a harder time?
Dex. That's true.
I mean, it's not moving, right?
That is true, yeah.
Yeah, dex saves. What do you guys think? I kind of.
Well,
I'm hurling a rock at it like with magic. So
yeah. I don't think that the thing. It's like laying on the ground, right? So like, how could it really? I don't know.
I think in the context of the fiction of what's going on, if this is something you've done before, you wouldn't have any problem. So
Okay.
I'm going to actually like roll disadvantage for this thing, right? I think that's what makes the most sense personally. Because we did establish that's what's going on. Is that good?
Sure, yeah.
And it's just going to roll a 17.
Oh man.
Anyway.
Never mind.
This is maybe the rock just bounces off.
Maybe.
You're
it
aiming
slid
for
off
like
because of the oil. Like,
oh man, yeah.
I'm going to say you do hit the thing square on. Like, just immediately pierce it. There's like this splintering of wood. But, have you guys ever seen the movie The Thing?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Like
Long time
John
ago.
Carpenter movie. It has like a shape-shifting alien. And what this will look like is the entire tongue, which is like it was reaching out and trying to wrap around Valarie's foot.
Mhm.
The whole thing is going to detach and start writhing around like a gecko's tail, like with its own, like a will of its own. But then like a ton of like these tiny hairs are going to like grow out of the side, and the whole thing is going to get up, and it's going to like try to scurry towards the stairs. It's going to like completely break away. But Valarie, I think that would be a good opportunity attack for you. What kind of weapon do you have?
Absolutely. I have hold on. I have spears, or I have a crossbow, but I think in this case the spears make more sense for her to be able to access.
Sure. And by the way, that like attack that we established, like it's going to hit the thing. I mean, how can you miss at that range? That'll kill it, but the main thing being done, it's going to like divide into a smaller part and try to get away. And it's a much smaller volume than it was before. You know, it's like lost a lot of like mass by doing this. But go ahead and roll the opportunity.
Was not 20 crit.
Oh, snap.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Dang. There we go.
Do you take a spear and do that?
Mm,
Yeah. A spear.
the 2 damage crit F.
Not a problem. I'm going to say you just take the spear, you go, and all of a sudden you have some lengua taco on the end of a stick right there.
Oh, boy.
Oh, wonderful.
So that'll bring us out of initiative for the moment.
Okay.
In the meantime, you have like the thing, and it's continuing to like wriggle around. But weirdly, it's starting to revert back to what it was in the jar. It will fade to like a very dark red. It'll start to almost rot before your eyes and coat the tip of your spear in the same like black, inky stuff like that. And you know, like that cartoon, like ink dripping where it's just like a long like strand like that.
Yep.
Mhm.
Like almost like a cartoon, it'll like hang down the end of your spear and make like an oversized droplet of this stuff.
Interesting.
So Gil's gonna say, what is... I mean, we've been fighting this, but what the hell was that thing?
I don't know. Put it back in the jar. Somebody grab the jar.
Where did the jar get to?
Here, and I pull like a burlap sack out, and I just wrap like the tip of your spear in it, and like try and grab the thing off.
Yeah, no problem. The jar, it was right there before the armoire decided to walk across the room. It's sitting there. The cork is there. You know, if you wanted to cram the burlap sack in and stopper it, easy.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so Ellie will pick up the jar and like kind of hold it out so that Gil can shove that in there.
All right, yeah, and Gil will just shove it right in and try and slam the cork on.
All right, and no problem. You slam that thing on. It's on there tight. So I will say that, you know, even the force that you saw this thing move, it is not going to pop back out again.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be reasonably confident that it's not going to shy a surprise you later. At this point, I'm going to say you still have that hunter's mark on that guard, right?
Yeah, and so after this happens, you know, Gil kind of sighs, wipes some of the oil and water like off his brow, and says, we got some heat on us. I heard Gale talking to some firebrands outside. And then this happened. Gale is definitely not happy with us, but we should probably split.
Yeah, I think we should take this jar and this thing with us.
If anything, we could, you know, throw it on the ground and make a quick escape while whoever's chasing us has to deal with it.
Absolutely.
That's true. Okay, I'm gonna run over to the papers that we saw that were like starting to burn that Valarie put out, and I'm gonna go see if I can salvage any of them.
They, you know, the crates might not have caught fire, but you know, as a consequence, the scrolls are all burned up.
Yeah.
But you still have the book of observations that was on the table.
You think there's something in those soggy ashes?
Well, I don't know. I thought I would at least check something.
Fair enough. Have you found any kind of leads on where your father might have gone?
No. I mean, we found this book of observations. It looks like he was trying to run some tests on whatever that thing is, but other than that, we haven't found anything.
All right. Well, book of observations. We know he met with Livia. Maybe this thing comes from that side of the island.
It's possible. And at the very least, she might know something about it.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, your hunter's mark spidey sense is going off in your head.
Yeah.
You can see the soldier approaching again, and very close now. I'm gonna say, even though this is a cellar, it has small like slits up that would be right at ground level for ventilation, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the heavy iron boots of the firebrands walking on the street right outside. You hear the muttering of the guards, like, Chimere told me to come back, and come on, does anyone even listen to what Gale says?
We should cheese it. Let's go. They're almost upon us.
The guards are walking up the staircase outside.
All right, so my idea, we should go up to the attic. I've got a little bit of rope. We can throw it out, tangle our way down, and hit the streets and just run.
Alright, let's hop on it.
You don't think it would be worth it just to speak to them?
We could, but after the scene down here, I'm sure they'd book us for something.
Oh,
Property
okay.
damage, at least.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess you guys know how the guards here work better than I do. So, all right, let's go.
All right, so yeah, go up to the attic, dangle some rope down to like out the window to sidle down the side of the building, and I wait until the guards are like inside so they won't see us as they're still on the street.
Even though you're on the top floor, and I'm gonna say, if this was a TV show, it would show them walking into the main room, going like, "What's that smell? It smells like someone murdered a goat in the basement a week ago." And one of them says, last time I smelled something that bad, you were stuck on that ship for a week. And meanwhile, you're on like the floor above, and you're tying off the rope and putting it out the window, like as this is all going on.
Yeah,
on the lower floor. Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay. So, what do you think would be an appropriate role to get out?
Probably acrobatics or athletics. One of the two makes sense.
So you think, I'm going to say that anybody can climb down a rope. That's not a particularly like difficult or challenging skill, but to do it quietly takes an extra bit of ability or luck. So I guess go ahead, everybody roll me some acrobatics and we'll see what happens.
Sure. Would stealth and acrobatics make sense?
I'm okay with either one, to be honest. I think they both make sense for the situation.
Yeah, all right. Gil will roll a stealth for this. 22.
Ooh.
Okay, we got two very good rolls and one okay roll. So I'm going to hand wave it and I'm going to call it overall a success.
All right.
I'm going to say, Sage, as you're kind of like rappelling down this wall, like your like foot will like rub against a tile and kind of it'll fall off and break on the floor, and you'll get that comical kind of like
freezing.
My foot out of my pocket. Perfect. Yeah, that's what it sounded like. That's exactly what it sounded like.
Awesome.
And they'll like look out the window, like you'll see this guard's head looking out the window, and he's got his iron helmet on, like the bar across the eye, and he'll like look to the left, look to the right. Meanwhile, all of you are like pressed against the building like this, like just out of sight. And
Nice.
He'll look down, kind of furrow his brow, and this like giant helmed head is gonna go back inside, and you'll hear the creaking of floorboards inside as it goes. But you guys make it out to the ground floor, no problem. It's later on in the night now. You get random drunks going down the street, sailors finding their way home. Last call was probably a couple of minutes ago. I'd say Valarie, roll me a D100 for a luck roll.
Okay. Oh. Okay. I don't know how to roll that in Roll20, actually.
Slash roll and then The same thing we do in Discord, just slash instead.
I used an exclamation point at first. That's why nothing happened.
Yeah, it's a slash.
A 28.
So for a 28,
Oh no.
you'll see like Gil is standing in the doorway, and he's got like a candle on, and he's definitely watching the guards like going up the stairs, examining things around, and he'll spot you, and he'll like open his mouth to like shout or make a scream, and he's going to call and point at you, seeing that the rope is still dangling down there, and know that you've made an escape.
Oh no. No. Shh. She's just gonna kind of like try to like, I don't know, maybe like get him to not, kind of like by gesturing and like, please no, like mouthing at him.
The words escaping his mouth is just gonna be thieves, and you'll hear the sound of like the heavy armor bounding back up.
All right, guys, we gotta cheese it. Here, let me do this. And I have a bag of ball bearings. It comes with a burglar's pack that my character started with. I'm just gonna drop a bunch of ball bearings on the ground so that anybody chasing us will just have a really hard time not falling over, and we're just gonna run in the opposite direction.
Okay.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start something called a clock, and it's gonna be a chase clock, and it'll be a tug of war between you guys succeeding and you guys maybe doing some bad rolls as you guys make a foot race through the city. Make sense?
Okay.
And so I'm gonna mark this with something right here that I'm gonna drag to right here, and we'll give this an 8-tick clock. You guys can all see that?
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna call it Chase. And I'm going to make it halfway there. So that way, if it fills up completely with black, you guys are home free. If it fills up completely with red, bad things are going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
So, to go back to the ball bearings, right?
Yeah.
Describe what you do with them. These guards, they are heavily armored, but they appear to be all muscle. Like, were very heavily trained. They come bounding out after you, hand resting on the sword and head tilted forward, almost in a full sprint.
All right. Yeah, Gil has like a little utility pouch that he has all his stuff on, kind of like Batman, with a bunch of little gadgets, like maybe like a small like paring knife, maybe some ball bearings with like he has some candles, that kind of thing, and like a bit of charcoal so he can draw on like parchment or that kind of thing, and chalk as well. So he just like grabs a handful of these ball bearings out of one of his pouches, and just throws them on the floor haphazardly and just runs the other direction.
If you want to say you use up all of these ball bearings, I'll advance it a tick. If
All right,
it's
yeah.
gone from your inventory.
So so the bag said it comes with 1,000 of them, so I'm not sure how big they actually are. 1,000 seems quite excessive. But
That's a lot of ball bearing.
yeah. I think that's probably more than he can carry in one hand, but
Yeah. But I think if you want to do that,
oh, I think we
Oh
lost
no.
him.
Oh no.
Oh no.
If you want to do that, what?
Oh boy.
Oh,
Oh,
did I misclick or something?
it looks like you dropped from the call for a sec.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
might have had Discord open and clicked in the wrong. Am I back? Like in the right
Oh,
spot?
you are back.
All right, good to hear. So if you just want to like take the bag, cut it with a knife, 1,000 ball bearings or not, and just like let them behind you as you're running along, you pretty much flood the street with them. They're going to be picking up these effing ball bearings for a week.
Instead of that, can I hold it upside down so that as I'm running, they're just trickling behind me? So it's not just one big burst, but I am just leaving a trail of them as we're going.
You
Yeah.
can do that. You're still fine with using all of them, like it's going to be empty by the time. Okay, all right. Then yeah, I will advance this by 1 tick. And so you can tell that they're like slowed a little bit as they're trying to find spots with less ball bearings. They're losing their footing here and there, but you hear like the scratching sounds of hobnails, nails that have been cut into the bottom of these boots. You know, they're sporting some pretty heavy footwear that's gonna, let them run in mud and all kinds of stuff like that.
Sure,
So,
yeah.
They're losing ground, but they're still on your tail. I'm gonna say up ahead, on like a crossroads, there are a bunch of like street markets in front of you. Stuff like fruit, fish, and that. Let's say it's late enough in the night that they're even starting to prepare like the food stalls for the next morning.
All right. Would
Also,
I know anyone here that might be friendly?
Do you know anyone here that might be friendly? I'm gonna say I am comfortable putting that to a roll.
Sure.
Let's do this. Name somebody and how they'd be friendly to you, and tell me what they owe you and what you owe them.
Let's see. I'm hearing a little bit of an echo, by the way. I'm not sure where that's coming from. Let's say there's, a merchant named Rigney, and I've helped him kind of track down his dog, like, once or twice after it, like, ran out of town or something. And so I know him from that, and he knows me from that. But also, what would I owe him? I definitely owe him a favor because I didn't have food for a few nights and he fed me.
Okay. So he's a merchant, right?
Yeah.
What does he sell?
He sells fish.
Oh, okay, yeah. So his dog's there. He's got his knife out first thing in the morning. I mean, you like all three of you are like running through the stall, but you spot him, dog sitting there. He's feeding it like scraps of fish that he's like cleaning out of him as he's like doing his thing. And he says like, "Gil, what are you doing up so early? Usually you sleep until noon."
And I'm just gonna run by as it's happening. I'm just gonna say, "Can't talk, just yell for thieves and try and get the guards behind us their attention." All right, I'm going, and then I'm just gonna like. That's all I say to him. Maybe quick persuasion.
Yeah, let's do some persuade.
A 14.
So with a 14, I'm gonna say like he has like a tub of soapy water, and like that he's using to like clean his fish and things like that.
Sure, yeah.
And like as they're running past, he'll take this whole tub and pretend like he's just emptying it out, but he'll throw all this disgusting, salty, fishy, soapy water and throw it right in their face as they're going on. Just like, oh, and they're sitting there.
Whoops!
Like,
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
Oh yeah, and they're wiping their eyes, shaking their fists. They can't tell whether to like bring this guy in or keep running. But so I'm gonna advance it another tick. And new NPC Rigney. And what else do you guys want to find? Let's say, and here's a chance for you folks to be creative. Like if you were in a chase, what would Valarie or Ellywick hope to find?
Valarie would probably look for like a stack of crates or barrels or anything that she could like throw down behind her so that whoever's chasing her like has to get over an obstacle, or maybe it slows them down having to go around it.
Okay. There's a
Ellywick, because she's so small, she is more likely looking for somewhere to hide because she can just like kind of slip underneath something or slip into somewhere and usually escape notice, especially if people are not used to chasing someone like a gnome.
Sure. So we'll do Valarie's first, and we'll say there's like the biggest establishment in town. It's the Sleeping Sphinx. It's kind of like, maybe it has like kind of like a fratty atmosphere where like a lot of like the higher ups in the temple go. You guys prefer the Copper Pot, which is like more where the musicians and like weirdos hang out, and they're busy unloading all of their beer, and it's
Okay.
in like an ox-drawn cart. They have them all like neatly stacked up in a line, ready to be carried in. And the proprietor of this establishment, like this very stocky dwarf, he's just lifting up the barrel and putting it behind his head and going inside. But you mentioned having some barrels. It's on a slight grade, very smooth. If you were to tilt some of these over, they would roll all the way into the boat, saving not into the boat, into the bay, like off the dock. I bet if they didn't break, you could probably save every drop of beer. Just saying.
Ooh.
Well, then I want to try that.
Something like strength related, I think, is
Okay.
gonna make a lot of sense here. So, what makes sense to me is athletics. If you
Okay.
want to be creative, I'm fine with whatever else.
I'm probably going to agree. Athletics.
All right.
Ooh, a 10.
For a 10, you will succeed, but with complications.
Okay.
Do you have a crowbar,
So,
perhaps? That might help?
What's that?
Do you have a crowbar or something that might help? Or maybe like a knife to help you like pry it open?
I don't. I have my spears and that's it.
I see.
Let me think here.
I also have bolts for my crossbow, but again, I'm not sure how that would help.
That would probably be kind of awkward to use in a pinch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you use inspiration yet?
I did not. I can use
Is
that.
that something you want to try?
I will try that. A 16.
Ooh,
A
there we go.
16,
Yeah.
absolutely. You managed to get a couple, and it's kind of like you can hang onto the side and just like pull them down one by one.
Perfect.
And the barrels go full Donkey Kong. And, it's a narrow alleyway. They have nowhere to run to. And one of the barrels, it's going to like hit a bit of cobblestone and go like waist high and just slam into this guy. And you see that his armor, like on his legs, is like even bent a little bit by the force of it.
Heck yeah.
There's like no broken bones or anything, but it's like getting tackled by a dwarf, one of these beer barrels. And coincidentally, the dwarf and the barrel of beer probably contain the equal amount of alcohol. So I'm going to advance it one tick for that. And I'm going to say that, one of them gets taken out. And the other one is like hot on the tails of Ellywick. And it could be you're trying to scramble up the grade. Ellywick being smaller, your strides maybe not as big. But you see an opportunity. There's like a space that you can kind of like crawl down below where any like bigger humanoid is going to be like kind of kept smaller or kept out, because they just aren't able to fit. It could be just like a gap in like a wooden fence, like leading down an alleyway. The other two are able to go through, like slam the door behind you. There's like there just happens to be an unlocked padlock. Snap the padlock in place. Do you want to roll to see if you can like get through the space in like a good amount of time? And what do you think would be an appropriate roll for that?
Sure. Probably like athletics.
Athletics or acrobatics. Either one of those is totally fine with me.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna actually reverse the clock a little bit. Like you managed to like get through this thing. Meanwhile, like a battering ram, the armor is just gonna like just break through this wooden door, splinters flying everywhere. In the meantime, I will say, if anyone has any other creative stuff you guys want to do to try to like get away from this foot race, but Gil, I'd say you're in the front, and there's like an open door in the hallway, and an elf that is in the hallway, just staring intently at you, and she goes, "Psst, psst, come here quickly."
All right.
Come here.
I won't take even a second to consider any bad consequences from this. He will just follow this elf's lead.
Okay. How about everyone else?
I'm gonna duck after Gil.
Yeah, same.
Okay. The door closes behind you, and you hear the sounds of the two firebrands continue on down the hall, not noticing you slip into this room. And you guys okay to take another quick 5-minute break?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we're back.
So you get to the inside of one of these row homes, and immediately you're met kind of with this scene of not necessarily squalor, but poverty, definitely. It is a family. They are huddled together, 2 children, a mom, a woman, and the elf man that beckoned you to come inside.
Mm-hmm. Do I know him?
You don't know him. What are you thinking right now?
I'm a little wary, but also thankful. Gil is going to flash him like a hand sign in Thieves' Cant to say thank you, just to see if he reacts in any particular way.
He does not.
All
But
right.
he does speak to you in common language. You can
Sure,
understand,
yeah.
no problem. He says, the temple, I know they have it in for you.
How are you involved with them or not involved?
I was at one time like yourself. You might not remember. Elves do live longer than those like yourself, but I remember you. And he'll pull back his very threadbare tunic that he has. And he'll reveal the very top of a dragon mark himself.
And then I'll pull back my right sleeve to show him my dragon mark, and I'll say, "Who are you? Can I perhaps roll a history or religion to see if I know anything about this?"
Oh yeah, go for it.
Oh, I got an 8. Probably not too much insight on this.
Sure. You don't remember him. You might like vague recollections of, but this is like when you were a very young child.
Sure, yeah.
And he says, you may think you're the only one out there that has to live under the wings of a dragon, but there are others. I among them.
How do you know that we were there just in time to help us evade those guards?
No, you yourself bear the mark of finding.
Mm-hmm.
Now, over time, you can develop the skill to locate those you seek. And it allows us to connect with each other for, there's more than just me, more than just you.
Do I feel any kind of like bond with him from these marks? Like maybe like do I feel a connection because of it? Like a
supernatural
telepathic
connection, telepathic.
Yeah.
Do you want to roll something? I will say no, because we did establish you can cast Hunter's Mark and they have no idea, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm gonna say it's completely devoid of any kind of feeling.
Yeah, so whatever magic would be spent for quite some time.
Mm-hmm. How long ago were you in prison, Gil?
Would have been a couple months at this point.
Sure. And he says, we've been watching you for a while now. And you see, we had to make sure we could trust you. That you don't have the obedience that a lot of us that were raised in the temple have.
So, I mean, you and who else? How many on this island are there?
Not many here in the port. I'm here to keep track of things, to warn my brothers and sisters if I have to. But there's a whole community of us on the eastern part of the island.
Are you familiar with Livia? Just a shot in the dark.
Livia?
Apparently,
I'm not. I don't know that name.
all right. I figured. Apparently, she's some kind of tour guide. Maybe, just maybe. But anyway, the eastern side of the island, huh? I've never really ventured out there.
It's the farther away from the temple in the city, the more spread out the temple is. We're largely left to our own, but the land has been dying. Crops don't grow like they used to. For those such as yourself who haven't seen the coming and going of as many seasons, may not feel it, but the island is dying.
Dying. You mean like the fish around it, the plants? What? I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that.
Everything. This was a living and breathing bastion that lasted the drowning and stood the test of time. And we're all here and we have to share the harvest that the land gives us. Each year it gives us just a little bit less.
Wait, back up a second. The drowning? I'm not familiar with what you speak of.
Oh, you've heard the stories of what came before.
I mean,
the world was drowned.
you mean to say those aren't just stories the church tells us to, be good little boys and girls?
No. I believe, and others believe, that it happened.
This may seem strange, but you did say you were quite older than me. I mean, were you around to have seen it, or maybe your folks?
He kind of laughs and he says, I'm not that old yet.
Sorry if that's rude. I just curious is all.
No, not rude.
So,
We don't have much, but what we do have, we'll share with you.
thank you. And I'm sure you know my name. I'm Gil, but what should I call you? To whom do I owe this pleasure?
You can call me Caliban.
Caliban.
It wasn't the name that the temple gave me at birth, but it's a name I gave myself. And I believe it's a truer sound.
All right. Pleased to make your acquaintance, Caliban. And I shake his hand.
Tell me about your companions.
So, well, this is Valarie. We met in prison. I'm not sure how much you know of my history, but, well, I landed in jail for a few nights, and she was kind of caught up in the same thing as I was, and so, well, she's kind of my business associate here. We have been just doing, like, some private investigations to, keep ourselves fed. And, well, this little gnome here is one of my clients, actually. We're on we're on a case, but would you like to tell Caliban more about yourselves?
Yeah, it's interesting actually that you brought up that the island is dying. I was before everything happened. I'd been noticing some changes. That's why I was even in and around this area when everything happened, and that's why I was thrown in jail. It Something is terribly wrong, and I think it has everything to do with the temple. I'd really love to know like anything you can tell me about that.
That the temple has eyes everywhere. However, we've seen that their interest in the ruins has increased through the decades. More and more, I see parties out there opening mines and bringing out more of this cargo from the depths of the island. Cargo that ends up on the docks and leaving. I mean, what are they taking from the land that is worth so much and is so valuable?
Could your father have been wrapped up in that, Ellywick? Perhaps?
Um, Maybe. I wouldn't like to think that he would do anything intentionally that would be hurting the land, but I mean, he was a trader, so if they traded him goods and he didn't know, then maybe.
The church, I know, likes to leave out a lot of things in... that's how they get people. They tell half-truths and very
Yes.
nice lies.
Yeah, I mean, even, I used to come with my father when he would come here, and he always said that we needed to be very careful of the temple and, always do exactly what they say and things like that. Otherwise, things could go very badly for us. But he never really explained more than that.
If your father had permission to do any kind of trade on the island, that's another of the ways that they can control us, is by only permitting those who toe the line to be comfortable here.
So, a question I have for you now, Ellywick, is... are you prepared to go against the church here if it comes to that? If that's what we need to do to find out the truth of what happened to your father?
Yes.
Okay.
If it means finding my father, then yes. Now, if it turns out that my father is working with the church, then I don't know what I'll do at that point, if I'm being honest. But if going against the church would mean finding my father and making sure that he's safe, then yes, I will do that.
All right. Just glad to know. Glad to know. I would hate to have you wrapped up in all this and have you end up in a jail cell just like Valarie was. To no fault of your own.
Well, I mean, I would prefer if that didn't happen, but it's a small price to pay for finding my father.
You and me both. I'd hate to go back, but anyway, Caliban. So what are the... if we're meaning to go east on the island anyway, but is there anywhere we should go to seek haven from the church? You said there are others like you, and the church has eyes everywhere. I'm not... I don't really know what our best option is here.
Sure, definitely stay away from the paths. The miners, when they do travel, you can hear them a mile away. And your numbers are small. With 4, you can avoid patrols. And your friend Valarie here knows like she understands how to live off the land and provide the shelter and food that you might need.
Of course I do.
All right. Now, I tried to communicate with you and thieves can't, which you may or may not know is a way that, you know, thieves communicate with, like, hand signals and codes and that kind of thing. Are there any roguish types among you that might respond to this? That maybe or maybe not?
There could be. If this is a language and a manner of communicating that you picked up while you were in prison, I myself so far have avoided that. But, you know, others have been thrown in jail for far less, if even just speaking up against the temple. And if that is a way of communicating people have learned there, maybe that will be a common bond that will allow you to talk to each other. I think that you do have that look about you, Gil, that you can just tell on your face that there are things that you regret. And you and Valarie yourselves carry this common weight on your shoulders of living in this injustice.
I'm that obvious,
I
huh?
can see it on you.
Well, you know, I didn't expect the church to turn on me. Just cast me aside like I was worthless. But, you know, I guess sometimes that's what has to happen to learn a hard truth in this world.
You know, life of those that have the mark is never easy. Whether you come to serve the temple or against it. I've come to see it as both a blessing and a curse.
I guess I'll come to see it in time as that as well.
At this point, there's a pounding at the door. Open up! There's this panicked look as everyone, their eyes open wide. Caliban turns to his family and just says, "Take the kids, go upstairs."
Are there any objects that I can kind of just duck under, hide behind, that kind of thing?
I'm going to say that Caliban even, like, does the stereotypical, like, grabs the rug and, like, pulls it off underneath the table and, like, carefully digs his finger into a gap in the floorboards and pulls it up, like, revealing the hidden passageway in the middle of the floor.
Sure.
And he beckons for you all to go inside.
Yeah, without a second thought, I will just follow his lead.
Okay.
Yep.
And for the moment, you all like duck into the underground passageway, and you hear the sound of like the furniture like quickly being scurried like back into place, and you hear the sounds of the voices, and it's the same two guards that made the chase, and they say, "Caliban, you're coming with us. We're taking you in." And he's protesting. He's like, "But my family, I've done nothing wrong. I've been home all night. Ask any of my neighbors." And one of them laughs openly with contempt for what he's saying. And he says, like, "Well, if you haven't done anything wrong, we'll find something." One of them says, "Yeah, and what took you so long? What are you doing in there?"
I just whisper, "This is the church's hospitality, all right. Listen well, Ellywick."
Listen to the car alarm.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I kind of hear a car alarm in the background.
Yeah, it's living in a city for you.
Oh, it's not terribly loud.
I'm gonna say let's cut it until it stops or whatever.
I don't hear it
know how
anymore,
long this is gonna
actually.
go on. Wait, I think if I turn my microphone a little bit, I can still hear it.
Honestly, it's not terribly loud.
All right. You guys just want to know what happens next.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
hooked. I need to know. I need to know. Will
There we go.
Caliban?
This is the perfect place for my microphone.
Will
right
we,
here.
will
yeah,
we be able to
it's gonna
save
say anything.
Caliban?
But and suddenly it goes completely quiet. But in the far distance, you can hear the sound of two small children sobbing into
Oh
Oh no.
some cloths, like very, very quietly.
no.
So what does the inside of this cellar look like? I have dark vision, so everything kind of goes into like grayscale. But can I detect
Yeah.
anything important
Hey,
here?
I have dark vision.
Sure, it looks like a very, very narrow, low ceiling, very roughly cut into like the rock and dirt. Like up above, you can kind of see like cobblestones and bits of masonry like sticking out.
Mhm.
Every now and then, it would have like a hastily laid like 2x4, just like holding the roof open. But doesn't look like a sewer or anything. It just looks like a tunnel. Well, obviously a tunnel, but like meant purely for the passage of like people and contraband.
Sure, yeah. So I'll just kind of whisper under my breath, like, "We'll try and save you, Caliban. But let's go, guys. The guards are surely going to find this if they scour Caliban's home."
Yeah. Better safe than sorry.
So continuing down the tunnel, it opens up to, let's see, what do you think, Gil? Where does this tunnel lead?
It would probably lead into, kind of an access, way. Maybe when they were digging out the sewers, this was kind of a tunnel that wasn't actually used in the finalized version, but they dug it out anyway.
Sure.
And so we can kind of poke our heads out. Maybe there's like some pipes we can crawl through to get back to the surface. Maybe they lead out to the bay. So maybe we have to do a little
empty
swimming.
out,
Yeah.
like, into the water.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's like a much older part of the city, some like pipe work that has just been like forgotten by the architects.
Yeah, some kind of like overflow storm drain type of deal.
Yep. It leads to like an open, like to one side of the port. It's not like in the main thick of things, but definitely you can see the main bits of the port area of the city. And the first thing you notice is that like it's maybe about 5 a.m. and the sun is starting to peek out and illuminate everything. And you hear the sounds of, sailors singing songs as they're getting started for the day, like a distant sea shanty being sung as just the normal pace of living starts. And it's a little jarring after, fighting that mysterious creature in the basement of the house, being on the trail of a lost merchant and being chased by the firebrands, to just see a normal peaceful scene of the docks and the seagulls singing and just the normal pace of life beginning. You still kind of have the remnants of adrenaline pumping in your veins.
Yeah, hairs on the back of our neck still standing up, that kind of thing. Oh, I'm exhausted. I think we should try and find some place to lay low, just get a nap if anything, and then just leave the city. Probably our safest bet. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, we should go find.
Olivia, yes.
Yeah, Olivia.
Say, Ellywick, the guards probably know the least about you between the three of us. Do you think you could requisition a cart for us? Maybe we could meet you by the outskirts of the city?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I do actually. I have some magic that I can skewer my appearance and look like someone else, too. So even if they did slightly recognize my appearance, they wouldn't then. So, yeah, I could get us a cart.
Awesome. And here, let me toss you a few gold for that as well, just so it's not just you bearing the whole cost. And I'll hand you like 3 gold pieces.
Okay. I will put those into my pouch. Could you point me in the direction of where to get a cart?
Yeah. So just go ask. There should be kind of a wall towards the east side of the city, and there should be stables by there. Just ask for Hig. Hig runs the cart business in town. He does all sorts of logistics and transportation, I think.
Quick question. Is this requisitioning of a cart something that you guys want to role play out? Or is it -5 gold? It's there. It's got
just got it.
It's got the horse. You guys are ready to go.
Probably something we could kind of hand wave in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think it's
If it's not an
necessary.
interesting part of the story, let's skip it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But roll me a persuasion check just to see the quality of the equipment you get. Does that sound
Ooh.
fair?
Sure. Okay. Persuasion.
So it will succeed. You'll get what you need. But it's the
Right.
difference between you get something that's janky as all hell, or, you know.
Ooh, 17.
So for 17, you've been trained by one of the most shrewd merchants of Sarnia.
Mm-hmm.
You know your way to barter a good deal.
Mhm.
And you get a good deal. Perfectly well equipped. You can tell it's pretty new. The wheels, none of the spokes are worn with any travel. You know that this is going to go the distance.
Least jostly distance.
Maybe I'll be able to get some shut-eye while we're on the road.
Yeah. Should we take turns, I suppose, in driving?
Sounds
That might be a good
reasonable.
idea.
Now, this may be a strange question to ask, but as a druid, do you have any way to, make the horses go?
Speak with animals.
Yeah, do you have an easy way to control these horses?
Actually, did not prepare speak with animals.
I'm going to make you roll the least rolled ability in 5e.
Oh my
Animal
God.
handling.
Okay, let's do it. I am all for it.
I didn't even know animal handling was actually a skill in this game, because
It
it's
is.
never come
Yeah.
up.
Real skill.
Yeah, in 5e it is.
And that's 20.
Oh, damn!
I'll take it.
I've been in multiple campaigns and I've never once rolled animal handling. How does that?
I think Alfonso had me roll it to find Bingus. And that's it. That's all I've ever
The one
seen
time it was totally a non-consequential roll. Just
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Valarie, you have this way about you. And even when you, approach the horse, it was kind of skittish towards Ellywick and Gil a little bit, but, in the big doe eyes of the horse, you can just tell that it was, just very relaxed and ready to be, led as horses are.
Mhm.
What is one benefit you want to get? I'm going to say, you can go a little bit faster. What do you want to get as a result of the critical?
I would say probably, going faster is probably a good idea. We want to get out of town as quick as possible
Okay.
and to, I keep forgetting her name.
Via.
Livia, yeah, as soon as we possibly can.
Just to make it easier, I will show you this.
She is.
And now it's a reference you can kind of see as NPCs too.
Sweet.
So I'm going to say, though, on the way out of town, you have... And I will say this also. You know where Livia's cabin is set up. Living on the border of the forest. and it is right here, just north of town.
And
So, that'd be like just north of the city. Something that you'd be able to do is like a quick detour on your way east.
sweet.
Okay.
While we're on the road, Gil is just gonna lean over to Ellywick and say, "Hey, I saw you got hit pretty badly by that thing we fought before. How are you doing? Are you doing all right?"
Well, I've been better. That's for sure. Yeah, I could maybe benefit from a little bit of rest, I think.
Do you think we could maybe pull the cart off for a quick hour? Just get a quick bite to eat, maybe take a nap, aka have a short rest.
AKA, have a short rest.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd say who hasn't rolled luck yet? Ellywick. Roll a D100.
Oh, great. My rolling has been so good. Let's see how it goes.
My next goal is to have somebody roll performance, which is like the second least
70.
roll. So with a 70, no problem. Like definitely, there's, patrols and stuff like that going on, but like nobody messes with you. You're good. Poof.
Super.
Any other like short rest? People that don't eat HP, is there something you're doing like in the downtime?
Nothing in particular.
Gil will just be kind of going over the book that they found in the basement, the book of findings,
Okay.
just to see if there's anything that strikes him as like special about this case.
Roll some Arcana, and I think I'll open it up to questions of investigation as well. But in this case, since it's specific to like arcane stuff, I'm gonna have you roll Arcana, not investigation. 'Cause
Sure.
I think it's a different skill set.
Yeah, no problem at all. Let's see. 15.
Okay, so are any of those questions applicable? Maybe not really. But I'm going to look up the rules for discern reality and see if that makes sense from a different rule set. But
Okay.
ask me a question. It can't be like, how do we beat the big bad?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
It has to be a general question.
Would the book would it tell us how to control the mimic vial that we have, or the mimic jar?
I'm going to say, had the research maybe been performed to completion, you would have a much better idea. But of all the scrolls and all the writings, and it is in a very rushed hand,
Mm-hmm.
that clearly you can find out the extent of the testing that was done in like one very rushed afternoon.
All right.
But it gives you like the first steps of understanding.
Sure, yeah. So can this thing be revived? Is my question.
I think you'd have to study it for another hour.
All right.
I'm being very cruel.
No problem at all. Gil's gonna look through the book, and after about an hour of looking through it, he's gonna say, I can't really wrap my head around this completely. I'll have to get back to this later. But I think,
And again, it's very much like reading a law book. It's
yeah,
it's
just super
dry.
dense.
Yeah.
But I think,
But I will say that Ellywick, even just like seeing his handwriting, does give you that twinge of like familiarity. And I'll even like retroactively say that he had like a portrait of like you together, like on his like, work desk, which is a detail I had written down that I forgot to mention. That it's been months since you've seen him, and I'd say this might have been like the longest time you've been where he hasn't returned from a journey.
Yeah.
it'll be all right. We'll find him, or at least we'll find out what happened to him. Thankfully, if he got into anything with the church, I think they tend to keep people alive, for better or for worse.
Well, I would hope that it didn't come to, being captured by the church, but we'll find him.
You want to hold on to this for now?
Sure, yeah.
All right, then I'll just give her the book of findings about the jar.
Very good.
How you feeling? A little more rested? How's the bruise?
Yeah, let me roll my hit dice quick. Okay, cool. I'm back.
Can I ask some questions about how everyone's feeling and what you guys are thinking right now?
Out of character or in character?
In character completely.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
If you think my game sucks, keep it to yourself.
I'm having a horrible time. I hate this. No, I'm having a great time.
So Ellywick, you
Yeah.
didn't expect to have a falling in with a bunch of convicts on the run from the temple.
No, I
And-
definitely did not.
So I guess looking back, what made you want to do this job with Gil? How did it start and how did it end up? Do you trust Valarie and Gil?
Yeah,
Having experienced this together. Sorry to cut you off.
right, no, you're good. Well, I think I found him through, what was this guy's name? Mav, the barkeep at the Copper Pot. He's the one who kind of said, "Oh, well, there's this guy Gil who helps people find things and do that kind of stuff." So that's how I found him, and I don't really necessarily know anybody else on the island. So I was like, "Okay, sure, yeah, I'll go. He'll help me." Blah blah blah. And yeah, now I'm I've seen what the temple can do, and even before this whole adventure started, I knew that there was something more going on with the temple that my father was kind of afraid of, or at least very cautious about. So knowing that it goes deeper than that, I think she is still hoping for the best of Gil and Valarie. She's someone who does believe in people, so I think one, they're kind of her only hope of finding her father, so she's hoping that they're okay. But two, she hasn't necessarily seen them, double cross her or anything yet. So she's hoping that she put her lot in with the right people.
Gotcha. Now, Valarie, you've only recently learned from someone who's kind of kin. He's an elf like you are. Couple things. How old are you in elf terms?
Well, she's an adult, as far as elves go. I think I put her age in I guess, I don't know, human years, quote unquote. She's 35. She's not quite she's still pretty young as far as elves go, but she's not like a little kid anymore. She knows a little bit about the world.
So I have a question about elves in this setting. Do they grow up slower, or do they grow up at the same rate and just live for a long time?
Say they grow up at the same rate and live for a long time. I think that's standard, Forgotten Realms
Sure, yeah.
style. Yeah. No one wants to be a kid forever.
Yeah.
But my next point, Valarie, so 35 years, you've been around a while. You've seen the wildlife around the oceans and things. Maybe not sitting down and having a conversation with a fish, but you can definitely kind of feel their spiritual energy. And
she actually can converse with fish if she wants.
have you noticed any changes now that it's been mentioned?
Yeah, I think she noticed a little bit before that there was just a general unhappiness with things. That she wasn't sure exactly where it was coming from, but she was going to bring it to the temple when she kind of got caught up in things. But it's pretty clear that they didn't want her doing that or bringing any light to the situation. But yeah, she definitely noticed it, and now things are a lot more clear like knowing for sure that her suspicions were right.
Furiously typing notes.
You're good.
For Gil, this could just be another job. It could just be like finding someone's dog, like you did for Rigney. You could walk away at any moment. You can cut your losses, take your early pay, your advance, and hell, leave the island if you wanted to. What's stopping you from doing that?
First, his reputation is definitely kind of at stake here with the client who has had the biggest job he's ever had. So he definitely wants to get the full payment because, in one job more than he would have made in months of, doing small kind of marks and that kind of thing. But more than that, he does now feel some sympathy for Ellywick for kind of having been caught up in some church trickery, I guess is a good word. And as well as that, this whole thing with the dragon mark has only made him kind of question even more things with Caliban. So, and also just leaning into like his kind of good-hearted nature, he does want to find out what's happened to Ellywick's father. But all those kind of things combined outweigh the want to kind of hide away and just take whatever profits he could make and just like disappear. Yeah.
Are we doing like not reputation but alignment in this? Like, did you write down what your alignment is?
I wrote down neutral good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I usually don't play too much like hard lines with alignment, but usually I kind of keep it as some kind of like guidelines if I have a hard time coming to like a character decision.
It might be a way to track how you're feeling about things. Like, is this last experience enough to get you from neutral good to chaotic good? If you are willing to do whatever it takes to get back to the temple, just food for thought. If that's something we wanted to track, if we wanted to say forget it, then we'll forget it.
I'm usually all right with it being kind of like an afterthought.
Sounds good. That's all I had for you guys. Onwards?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, onwards.
Sure.
But
Now,
oh,
there is-
one last thing.
Okay.
Sorry. But he definitely feels some camaraderie with Ellywick the same way he does with Valarie after their stint in jail.
Okay. Yeah, you guys, through that common experience, it's forged a bond. If I'm reading it correctly.
I'd say so.
Up ahead, there's the river that opens up into Stormbreaker Port. It's wide enough that you don't want to try to get a wagon across. It's pretty risky, especially this time of year in the spring when the snow is melting off of the mountains. The waters can get quite rough. The bridge ahead, as it usually is, has like a contingent of maybe not firebrands, but like temple representatives. Maybe not so heavily armed, but you do know that they use this opportunity to check everything coming and going. And it's the only way to get across without making a major detour into some pretty uninhabited areas.
Hey Val, do you have a spell that might be able to help here? I know you can make water to put out those flames in the basement. Can you control the river, perhaps?
Well, the spell allows me to create water or destroy it. I don't know that I could really get rid of enough water to help us out much, though. I can try. So that's how create or destroy water works. So I can destroy up to 10 gallons of water in an open container within range.
I think it's going to take a bit more than 10 gallons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or it's probably a lot more than that. But
Mm.
is there a way we can create a distraction? Maybe a loud noise to draw those guards' attention away?
Let's set some like discovery things if you want to. Like
Sure,
I think
yeah.
this would be a good opportunity to use insight, right?
Sure.
If you
yeah.
wanted
Yep.
to get a read on the situation, if you wanted to.
Yeah, so from a distance, Gil will just kind of look at like the situation, look at the guards, see if they're like attentive or just kind of like falling asleep at the job, that kind of thing.
And this is not you as a player, this is we're tapping into Gil as a character, what he's able to kind of discern, right?
Yep. And so
Go ahead and let it rip.
I have a racial ability that lets me add an extra D4 to insight checks.
Very
Wait,
good.
no, never mind. It's called Hunter's Intuition, but it's perception checks or survival. Would perception...
I'm fine with perception too.
Okay.
Either one.
Sure, yeah. Oh, shit, I got a 20.
Oh.
Oh, baby, a
yay.
20.
So this is kind of like reading a bad situation that
Yeah.
is something great in like Monster of the Week and Powered by the Apocalypse.
Hmm.
So the first thing is whatever word that came from the town, you know that it hasn't like reached this point yet. You've seen this roadblock before. It's always there. It's nothing new. So you know that they're not actively looking for you. You've beaten the news out here. Make sense?
All right, that's good news. And I'll convey that to everyone and say, Ellywick, you have your disguise spell, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if me and Val, we go downstream a bit, cross just ourselves while you take the cart across, and we'll meet you on the other side?
Sure, yeah. What are there any sort of regulations about who can cross this sort of bridge? I don't know much about this region.
They're just church lackeys. They're probably gonna do some kind of contraband check. As long as, we have nothing like crazy on us, we should get through. Higgs carts, they know what to look for in them. So I think...
Yeah, and from that perception as well, I'm perfectly fine saying that, they don't you don't have to show papers to go anywhere, but they just make sure that there's nothing super valuable that's heading out. And they have somebody there who counts all the goods and has a rough estimate of tax that's leaving the port. Again, it's just a way to squeeze money out of more people based on the goods.
And
you also you don't have anything on this cart, right?
it's really just us and what we have on our person.
I
And
will
I
say
guess
though,
a
that
mule
if that-
or a horse.
mule
Sorry,
or
go ahead.
horse, if that's the purpose of this boat, I will say that there's always anyone who leaves the town is loaded up with junk to bring somewhere else. It's going to be really weird to not have anything. And also, if there's nothing to tax, there's going to be one pissed off tax man because he's not going to be able to get any grift.
Ooh.
All right.
Okay.
So that would be the only complication. And this is based on a critical role and stuff that Gil would just know intuitively being from here.
Yeah, so
Right.
so Gil will say, if you flash them a couple gold, I'm sure they won't ask questions.
Sure, maybe I'm a lumberjack going to the trees to get lumber for the city. I don't know, something. But yeah, I'll throw him some gold and hopefully that'll be okay.
Good cover story.
All right. You've made it to what? Are you guys sneaking away or are you sticking with the cart?
I mean, I assume me and Val. Well, actually, we don't. The church word hasn't gotten out, so actually we're probably all right. I think.
Oh yeah, you're totally fine.
Yeah.
You make it to the head guard, and it's a very casual. It's not like everyone's lining up in front of the cart. Someone they don't even physically stop you, but they kind of expect you to stop. And he looks over everything and he says, what goods do you have? What are you doing here?
Well,
Oh well, we are actually going into the forest to get lumber and things like that to bring back to the village. So we need
You're
the cart empty. Mhm.
you're going to the forest without an axe?
Well, we have some tools. Well, do we not? We don't have an axe, do we?
I don't
Well,
see anything. Are you gonna?
but we have magic and things, and that's how we fell the trees. Yes, you see, I have some fascinating little items here from the. Have you ever heard of Magitech before?
Magitech? I've heard
Mm-hmm.
about it. Never had a chance to see it in action. He calls
Oh.
over and he says he says uh, man, you usually have a list of names, but Linz, bring one of those logs over here. I want to see her split it without an axe. Can you believe it?
Oh.
And he just kind of like kicks it and rolls it and like stands it up and he says, "Hey, this is going to be the most interesting thing I see all day." A group gathers around to see you. It's like, so show us some of this Magitech.
Okay. Hold on. What do I actually?
and Gil will hand her the how do you say piton or piton?
Python.
Python. I got it, but I got it wrong twice. I'll hand her the python and a hammer from my own pack and say, "Hey, if you need to use this."
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think if I have a spell. I don't think that's really gonna. Okay. I've got it. Okay, so I'm gonna take the what is it, Python?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna like kind of make a big show and be like, "All right, everyone, stand back, stand back." Now, the magic that you use with Magitech, it takes a little while for it to actually fully have its effect, but there is quite the spectacle that happens as you start it. So I'm gonna take the python and I'm gonna like line it up on the log and hit it with the hammer, and then under my breath, I'm also going to cast prestidigitation to make like this big flash of light happen, like right when I hit it, so that it looks like something big happened. Do I have to roll for that at all?
Would that be a perform?
I was gonna make you roll performance, the second least rolled ability in all of 5th edition. If you want to roll that, I'll tell you what. If you roll performance, I'll give you a point of inspiration just for attempting the performance.
Okay. I'm gonna roll performance then. Oh, I got a 20.
Ooh, there you go.
Oh, it's a magic show. So there's a big flash of light. You strike the python.
Mhm.
Does
And
anything happen to the log?
Yeah, it doesn't like totally split. Probably, I don't know. Would a python and a hammer be enough to split?
Well, if you drove it in far enough, it might take a few hits, but it's kind of like a chisel.
We've already established that after that it would be a success on a good roll. So I'm not going to change the rules of the test now. So I want to say it splits big enough, and there's kind of like a ooh, and like there's like a bit of like scattered applause in the group.
Okay.
And they say like, Magitech, huh? We'd be able to collect so much more wood. We could export it. How do we learn how to do this?
Oh well, that's quite a long process. You see, it's from the island of Sarnia. Have you heard of that?
Sarnia, that's like a month's journey away.
Yes, it is quite far, but on the land of Sarnia, it is full of academies and guilds and places where you can learn all sorts of magical, wonderful things. So I am part of a Magitech guild on Sarnia, where I have learned such fascinating skills.
Wow, what are you doing in a dump like this?
Well, I'm uh, just
Outsource.
trying
Outsource
to
labor.
spread. Yes. Yes, exactly. And trying to spread the word about the guild and bring the knowledge of Magitech to other people.
Well, you sure did that. I think everyone. I speak for everyone when I say we're pretty impressed.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, we'll tack some of the wood on your way back to town, but you're free to go about your way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. So very kind of you.
And just look out for that crazy lady that lives in the shack there. She's we've had some incidents with some of the miners heading out.
Oh, okay. Well, that is good to know. Thank you
And
very much.
I don't think she'll take too kindly if you're cutting down any trees close to where she lives. Just word to the wise.
What kind of incidents?
That is a good point.
And he'll kind of slap the side of the wagon and go back to what he was doing. And they're like sitting by like a very rickety wooden table playing cards and drinking in the sun. Like
Sure.
nothing.
Okay.
Day drinking.
Drinking. Valid. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of have the horses keep going.
That was quite the performance.
Yeah.
Yes, it worked out quite well, didn't it? Whew.
You didn't tell me you were an actor.
Well, I mean, you pick up certain skills as a merchant. That's for sure.
Fantastic
I'll
use
say.
of prestidigitation. My favorite spell.
Thank you. I love prestidigitation. It's so great. There's so many different things you can do with it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So you make it past the bridge. It's only a short way to the shack that Valarie, you know that Livia lives.
Yes.
And let me just drag you guys over. Just 1 second.
You're good.
Just doing some fog of war stuff. You make it to the side of a small creek. The cabin itself, very spare. It looks like it's made from like rows and rows of like driftwood that have been carried down the river and like snagged. It has a simple like wooden thatch roof.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Did you make these maps, by the way? They're quite good.
I am not that talented.
I was going to say, this map is awesome.
And let's say, you stop. It's a very seldom traveled path from the road. However, it is a very high quality cart, and you're able to get it to like the banks of the river there. So let me just drag character stuff. Sure. And no initiative or anything. This is just like to set the scene of what's going on. The hovel's there. It's a shallow enough river that you guys can like step across on stones. It's like a very gentle, not deep water.
Yeah.
What do you guys want to do?
Gil is going to just, listen for a little bit to see if he hears anything going on the inside.
Oh, nothing. You don't hear anything. Actually, you hear the sounds of. It's like cooking. There's like a fire inside, like something's bubbling.
Sure.
There's just the sound of like a wooden spoon banging against a pot. those kinds of things. Nothing more than that.
Awesome.
Well, Valarie is not afraid of the water at all. And I think that she's gonna start to take off her boots. She's ready to dive in, swim across, and go knock on the door.
Okay.
And so she does.
Sure.
All right.
You knock on the door, and Livia opens it up, like kind of like surprised. Living out in the woods, it's not often somebody comes knocking on your door.
Right.
But she sees that there's like some vague recollection, and she like recognizes you as like a sea elf, and she sells. It's not often that somebody can approach my door without me hearing, but seeing as you are a sea elf, it does not surprise me.
Well, you're Livia, correct? We've met before.
We have. It could have been years. I do know that there was a family of sea elves in, I can't say how long, that lived in my woods. But I don't know what happened to them.
Well, I can tell you that, yes, there definitely was sea elves that lived here. It was me and my sister and our parents, but, with age, everything dies, and they had to eventually. But now it's just me, though. I haven't been spending much time out here, admittedly.
That's a shame. Once you're outside of the city, it's easier to come to know yourself.
Absolutely, I agree. I hate living there, but it's necessary for the time being.
She kind of smiles at that, like she might have met a kindred spirit. And, there's like a short pause in the conversation that usually happens when people kind of get past pleasantries and down to business.
Right.
And she does say, you would have not made the journey all the way out here just to talk about where your family used to live. For what purpose did you find me? There must be something.
You're right. See, I got caught up in some business with that temple, the church, and long story short, we're looking for somebody that we found your name in his ledgers. Actually, he's a merchant, a dwarf.
There's actually two. There's a gnome and a dwarf. But
No, and a dwarf. We're looking for two people. One of them is a gnome, and one of them is a dwarf, and they would have been like merchants. But you showed up in their ledgers, so we thought this was a good place to start.
apparently you are giving them tours for money, which is struck us as odd given your reputation.
You must be talking about that Lysander.
Yes.
Yes, that's him.
Why, it's been a few months since I've seen him, but he was curious about the ruins on the island. And some of them well known, anyone can find. Others, not so obvious. And it was these in which he was most interested in.
Why would
Interesting.
he have been interested in those?
Did he ever give you any kind of reason for that, or was there anything specific that he was looking for?
That, he didn't want to tell me his intentions. And I didn't think it was fitting to ask.
Understandable. I know you were showing him around, right? Is there anywhere like that may have, I don't know, upset somebody that he was going and visiting? I'm not sure.
Are you saying if Temple or anyone else knew to where I was bringing him that they might, want to punish me for. If that's what you mean, there's nothing like that.
Could you?
Go ahead.
Sure. Could you take us to where you took him? You see, we're just looking for any leads here to locate him. This, by the way, is his daughter. Where.
Hi.
And she says, and because I haven't seen him, and her face kind of drops a little bit, and he just says, he's gone missing.
You're correct in that assumption.
Well, I don't want to, we won't speak of such things. If he's out there, I can show you the last ruin that we visited together. And if there was, if he didn't return after that, perhaps you might find the answers there, or at least get some closure for yourself.
At the very least, it would be, one path we look down to find him.
Certainly, yes.
Now, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Is there any sort of significance of the ruins to the people around here or to the temple that you know of? Like, what can you tell us about the ruins themselves?
Only that they are guarded whenever they're known. They're picked apart by the temple. I've only known of one other occasion where they've discovered one, like, unearthed by one of the earthquakes we've had over the years. But I know that they're very closely coveted.
Now, is there anyone or anything that maybe he got too close to discovering that might have wanted him taken out of the picture? That you know of?
I don't know. My only job is to bring him to one of the ruins, and I myself, I can't live under the ground. I was born for the open sky. I never ventured down into any of the ruins with him.
Living in hiding does sound suffocating. And just, could you humor me with one more question? I pull back my sleeve to reveal my dragon mark, and I say, have you ever met anyone with one of these marks on the island?
I have, yes. Just one person. And I don't know how to break this news in a gentle way. He was killed.
Well, that doesn't bring me any comfort, but thank you. Apparently the church seeks those with these marks to use for their nefarious goals, to which end I'm not sure of, but, well, I think I narrowly escaped being manipulated in such a way myself.
Power seeks power, and it accepts no competitors. It's been this way in every world since the dawn of time.
Such is the law of nature, if I'm not mistaken.
Nature has a different way about it. It's it only seeks to sustain itself, not to take from others for its own benefit.
And one other question. Now Val here has been talking about the island feeling depressed. A man named Caliban said the island is slowly dying. Would you know anything about that? Surely if you're here attuned to nature, that would be something on your mind.
The best I can do is to show you. You see, when we go up into the mountains and visit valleys that used to be teeming with life, with animals, in some cases there's nothing but shrubs and dust. It's worse there than it is here.
All right. I guess we'll just have to see for ourselves.
At this point, you see actually a priestess of the temple, as you're having this conversation, approach with, I'd say, one like armored firebrand bodyguard, and just stand watching you from across the river. I'm gonna drag you guys across this way.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And she'll call out and say, Caliban told you all about what you were doing and where to find you. I've never known someone to keep that kind of information from us when otherwise compelled to talk about it.
Gil just kind of grits his teeth and just like mutters a curse under his breath and says, "We'd better get going."
Agreed.
Yeah, lead the way.
Do you think this river will slow them down enough? Maybe should...
Well, I'm sure the heavy armor would have a harder time getting through there, but I'm not...
At this point, I wanted to actually call it a session here.
All right.
Okay.
No
and
problem.
Continue on next week.
Absolutely.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
Awesome. This is a lot of fun. Thank you for running this.
Yeah, not a problem. I
Yeah.
hope you guys
Totally.
had fun, and I had a blast running it. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Fun.
We've got like a lot accomplished and like learned a lot already too. That's fun. Like sometimes the first episode of a new campaign, like it kind of drags on, but this one didn't feel like it did.
Yeah, it kind of
Just
like
jumped right in.
flew by,
That was good.
honestly.
Yeah.
I'm like, we could have done it
Yeah.
differently. We could have started in the copper pot with you guys taking the job, but
Mhm.
let's cut to the most interesting parts of the story and hand wave
Absolutely.
everything.
I agree. I like the exposition kind of
Yeah.
as the action is happening, not just like front loaded.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Mhm.
I really like the pacing that we're going with. Like, it's very action packed. There's not a whole lot of like a lull in things. No time for anybody to like get bored or distracted. Like, we're on it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but a lot of that is you guys too, where come up with a plan quickly and do it and give it a shot.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
so a lot of that is you guys as players. So
Yeah.
Awesome,
that's
yeah.
appreciated.
Thank you so much for running this, man. It's
Yeah,
awesome to
no
be a
problem.
player in
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Have a good night, guys.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody.
So
Thanks.
we're gonna do a quick sign off. I
Yeah,
cut you off.
no
We're
worries.
gonna do the sign off.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, hey, thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed at home, because I sure enjoyed playing in this. I'm going to be uploading these episodes to YouTube, so that if you missed anything, you can go back and rewatch and just get a recap if you need to. But yeah, I am Tehblab. You probably know that already because, well, you're on my Twitch channel. But if you look below, this is Gabby, or Two Spooky Cool Kids. She is also a streamer in her own right. I'm sure she would appreciate it if you checked her channel out and gave her a follow. And below her is Whisperwind ASMR, or Sage. And, well, would you like to do a little self-promo?
Sure.
Yeah.
I have a YouTube channel where I do ASMR, and every single video on my channel takes place in a fantasy world that I created and is kind of D&D-esque. So we're like going on this really long adventure, like through all of these different videos, and you get to like meet different characters and see all different kinds of stuff. So it's fun. If you like D&D, you might like it.
Awesome. Let me just find somebody to raid really quickly.